And now on the line is Neasa Ní Chnáimhsí from Donegal. Neasa, welcome to the programme.
Hello, Darren. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Neasa. Neasa, I spoke to you on Air FM a few months ago about the Mica story. Yesterday, the 14th of June, the government signed off on the Mica package. But I understand that you and your others in your movement are not happy. Can you tell me why you are not happy?
Okay, there's various different reasons, but first of all, it hasn't changed from where we were at a year ago. So, you know, the delay, and it's been delay after delay. At this stage, they have delayed proceedings 7 times over the last 2 years. So the first package came out 2 years ago that was purporting to be 90-10, but actually was exposed as being 60-40. Right, so that was a failure, and being the same government. Bear in mind, it was Fine Gael at the time, but it's the same government, so they didn't get it right first time. So the mantra we're kind of going with at the minute is right this time. Let's get it right this time. But the delaying tactics, and what's really offensive to us here at the minute, is the fact that they're looking to quickly solve this issue. This was presented to them 11 years ago, repeatedly and vociferously. And for them to now try and put this through without pre-legislative scrutiny is just insulting to our intelligence. It really is. For them to make out, we're doing everything we can, let's get going. That's not been their MO one step of the way. This is all spin. And the reason people are so pissed off up here is because it's all smoke and mirrors, and people are swallowing that, you know.
And you said you raised this issue loads of times 11 years ago. I believe Kenny would have been a Taoiseach then, was he?
That's right, yeah. Way back then.
I'm surprised Kenny, because I have some amount of admiration for him for being competent, but I'm surprised. So you're saying he was aware of this issue, and even after you raised the issue, there were still houses built that had Mica in them, were there?
Oh, listen, Darren, thousands, and that's not us being dramatic or exaggerating. Thousands of houses have been built in the last 11 years, and it's nearly 12 years since this was first brought to them. So they have just been dismissive. We've been overlooked. There's been red tape at every turn. We were just, I don't know, it's almost like they stuck their fingers in their ears, and decided we don't like what we're hearing. And now they're whinging that it's expensive. I mean, this could have been solved literally a decade ago, and my God, wouldn't it have saved the taxpayers a whole load of money if they had paid heed to what was presented to them instead of just going, that's them ones up in Donegal ranting.
And there were 2 more counties added yesterday to the list, but I understand there are more counties that are not included. Is that true, is it?
That's right. Yeah. So we were glad to see that counties Limerick and Clare were added to the list yesterday. But I'm under no illusions. I think there will be other counties. There was chat, I think they mentioned in the Times this morning, the possibility of Offaly, Meath, and there was another one, Louth. Now, that hasn't been made official, that hasn't been scrutinised, but it would not shock me one iota if it turned out to be an Eastern issue as well. So the quarries, obviously, these quarries are all, mostly I would imagine in the West, and that's why people feel so impassioned about it in the West, and maybe at times, maybe not so much so in the East. But unfortunately, we're all batting for the same team here, we're all taxpayers. And unfortunately, some people in the East may be visited with this issue, and it might take a year or two, it might take 5-10 years, but it's going to get messier. But isn't that just make it all the more? Isn't it such a shame then that they didn't pay heed well before now when they were? I mean, we implored with them years ago. There was such a load of work done to try and remediate this. This was on the front pages of our local papers. I remember coming to live here and years ago, and I remember it being on the front of the papers and not knowing what the hell they were talking about. And here I am now, 10 years later with a mica house and has to be demolished. And I'm just like, I don't think people understand until it's visited to your door and you look at the actual information. Like, it's very easy to judge that we're, you know, I saw a couple of, I'm not big into Twitter, but I saw a couple of comments yesterday where people were so unkind and were saying things like, God, these people will never be happy. These people are bleeding the taxpayers. We are taxpayers, Darren. We are taxpayers that paid every red cent for the house we bought, in my case, almost 20 years ago. So, you know, but the government has been trying to put taxpayer against taxpayer and has succeeded. And now we're dealing with what was and should have been really a humanitarian crisis. And now it's become like, well, online anyway, or in social media, it's become like some kind of divisive issue in society. But they shouldn't be getting away with that manipulation. They shouldn't be getting away with demonizing people in the West as being greedy or materialistic. Like, we're smarter than that. We shouldn't be swallowing that kind of spin, you know.
I think social media is regularly unrepresentative of what the majority of people think. So I don't know. 100%. I'm not an expert on the issue, but I wouldn't pass too much heat on social media if I was you. But
yeah, you're right.
You're saying you are taxpayers, and not only that, but it was the government or the state regulations that fell down. So it's not your fault, really, isn't it?
No, it's not. I mean, back in the day, and again, it's about looking at the issues and where this has actually come from and how it's happened. Back in the day, so we built our house 2005, 2004 maybe, and we paid 23% VAT on that house, and they're looking us to demolish said house, pay another 23% VAT on the same house, jump through hoops to get planning permission to demolish the house. They're making people up here, like, it's really offensive what they are putting people through up here. And when I say they, I mean the government, the authorities, the county council. It's just all weighted against these people who some people seem to see as some kind of leeches who are sponging off the state. We paid every penny, and we lived through the Celtic Tiger. We bought the house during the Celtic Tiger. And, you know, it wasn't easy to pay for. It was expensive. Why in God's name would we pay for it twice?
I saw Paddy Diver on Virgin Media News last night. He was saying that, like, out of all the people affected by Mica, some families, some couples, their marriages have split up, and some people have even committed. Some people have even committed suicide. Do you know of people in that situation?
I know of one man in Malin, you know, Malin Head. That was attributed. That would have been 2 or 3 years ago, but I wouldn't kid myself. That's the only one. And again, it's really important that people understand we're not being dramatic. This kind of pressure and the constant worry, the constant giving out, the constant trying to make sense of it is messing with people's heads in such a big way. And maybe, you know, a particular wife mightn't agree with her partner on the best way to go, on the best route, on how to make it work. You know, do we move out to a mobile home in the garden, if there's room in the garden, which in ours there wouldn't be? Would you move out to a log cabin? Are we talking about a caravan somewhere? What site will we get the caravan? Like, where are we going to put the storage unit for all the stuff from the house? When you look at the minutiae of this, it is mind-boggling. So people fall out, you know, and things get strained. Like, we've a wee girl doing her junior cert at the minute, and I do feel for people, you know, kids doing state exams. God knows it's enough pressure, especially given the last couple of years we've had. But you throw Mica into that, or having to move out of the house. Like, there are said to be 7,000 homes in Donegal, sorry, I'm slipping into Irish. But in just Donegal, 7,000 homes. Do you know how many have been fixed in the middle of all this mess? 10 of them. 10 out of 7,000. Now, what's it going to take for people to realise this is a national issue? It needs dealt with. People are suffering. And this shouldn't be what life is about. We I don't believe in bricks and mortar. I'm not about that. I want the family to be okay. You know, I have MS myself. I have a son with autism. There's other crap going on that should be way more important than this. But it's just been kind of shelved by the government as just too expensive. But now they're in a hurry to ignore pre-legislative scrutiny and get working on it because it suits their agenda. If it's not done right, they mightn't have to pay as much.
Okay, Neasa, to come towards the end of our Osberla interview, before we do our Osquelga interview, the government announced funding yesterday, Tuesday of €2 billion. What exactly are you calling for them to do now?
Okay, so the stuff that's worrying the working group is the fact that the founds aren't included. So they are literally looking to rebuild the same house on dodgy founds that aren't sound. Now, you don't have to be an engineer to think that that's madness, but that's what they're purporting to do. They want to leave the founds in as they are, even though we have tested the founds. Like when the engineer comes in and does, like I'm looking in a housing estate here, and all the houses have their wee holes in the walls where they've been out and drilled through. They do that to the founds. They test the founds. They dig down, and it's in the founds. But they're saying leave the founds, build on top of the founds, stick a Band-Aid over it and hope for the best. I mean, that's just going to be more expensive in 20, 30, 40 years' time. And that's going to cost the taxpayer more, you know. But also the fact that, you know, the pre-legislative scrutiny is going to be really important so that they're not cutting corners, you know. And, listen, Darren, I could go on forever. Apologies, I'm on a rant. But you can imagine we're very disheartened yesterday with the spin that was put in it, and listening to the likes of RTE talking about what the kind of victory this was. Like the spin was shocking. They're talking like, oh, this is a generous package. Yeah, it's a generous package. We're talking about nationally probably 8,000 to 10,000 houses that they messed up through their negligence. They didn't keep an eye on the quarries. They didn't do their thing. They got 23% VAT and are looking another 23% VAT. So yeah, they're going to have to suck it up just like they did with the banks.
So, like, even if the legislative process does go ahead, the normal legislative process, if that takes an extra 6 months or a year before you get your compensation, would you rather that go ahead? Yeah, the legislative process. Yeah,
we would. Yeah, there's no reason why it should take that long, but you know yourself. But if it means the house is going to stand for an extra few years, then yeah, you know, needs must.
And this year in Lína ó Donegal Town, Neasa Ní Chnáimhsí, and Neasa fáilte go dtíon clár?
Gur Mica Darn.
And Neasa dógar an réaltas inné an tríú lá déag an cinenne maidir a cúna ó Horsavínia bhfuil faiban óhhara a cúna Mica, agus thunig Meitheamh nuacht RTE, nuacht t-agallamh agus seacht lá t-agallamh caintsmhí seo inné. Okay, taisa gom nach bhfuil tú agus sibh sásta. A bhí seat a bhíniú dúna Neasa an fáil nach bhfuil tú sásta leis an cúna atá cortha ar fáil an réaltas?
Kinse, well, couple of ní clúdaíonn sé costas an té go bonúsach. Ní hagann sé fiú cóngarach de sin. So tá sé gol cosnú nuair a arcan tú ar na figurí cosnóí sin, níl muidir caintin seo faoi couple of míle. Bheú sin, you know, thiocúlaat sin i enú. Tá muidir caintin seo faoi na 10 míle. Agus cur a gas Miceachsa is teach lascoite é ina stát tíhíochta. You know, beam sa burtha gwaldini ag saulu, teach mór milteach thuas ar croch cosfarige. Ní héis sin an éwa tá curtha os cór an phobal ag an réaltas. Sin na cinlínse, tá sagat. Agus fórin sé sin don réaltas. Go sílan ahan dinne, go gapan ahan dinne, gach dinne, go bhfuil muidir ag siver agus santach. Ní santach an muid, you know. Teach lascoite ina stát tíhíochta agus cosnóí sé dúine go pársanta, cosnóí sé na 10 míle. Níl sin Michael leor agus éidir cur a Gaeilge, go bhfuil siad ag genú gar de cinne légan dú, you know, go bhfuil siad ag géirí bheith fíal agus flaithúil, ní mar sin atá. Agus just tá mé gompu ar gíní ar fud na tíra. Gan na cin teidil sin, na cin línte sin a creidwal. You know, Arcus Jocks a rud mona diggin to, cur kestra. Na go na man socialta ag torchamach, fui ke ko awarach is a tam winter gunningal. Nemer shinata shin spin agus on lubu at agenta ag an realtas waihelish an realtas e hen.
Okay, Louis tú Donegal an sin scum go to the county and sin. Agus talán dini as condathe eile nachhfuil clúdathe san Áireamh nachhfuil maiara cútah.
Yeah, so Owenye ta conde an Clar agus conde limni san Áireamh wegus mór de ia. Ta troch hi na tithe hi an sin tas agam. But ta si de kaintsin isin you fui conde a valley agus conde na mi agus conde lu. So ahan chance go jockey she lack dorish, you know, on phobal shin. So near Wylam sin a Gaeilge gwil she, you know, Jeric fod na chira, sa two-skirts and erhers and earhers, you know, but ahan chance gwil an aib shaw e wad nís massa na mar atasha de curros ar gore.
Agus is over on a war a buskew nachhfuil na bhaint na blinaíos.
Kinse. Oh my God, yeah. Gach den is a cheer, tamuja lig burha fuishin. Tamuja lig imniak fuishin. Costas ahan rod mar as olditch darn. So an aibatan lesh on rod a coru os ar gore and ye na Neil shishin san Áireamh. So an costas ata jarha mak egin realtas, winnen shile costasi marata. Ni winnen she lesh na costasi mara vase shade, agus on punk ceart seo réitithe acu. Like ag yon bléana, vecin tú costas image, agus costas stíl, agus well costas ahan rud. Mar soldeit tá sé gardu agus ag gardu. But ma héan sé leis an inflation. Ma hagan on inflation sias, aber ag yon cuig bléana, le cuidiú jé. Rocky on costas sias fasta. You know, o hevan chon skol tógála de. So ni yenni sé dochar bi ma tá sé ag clí le inflation. So céan fá nachhfuil sé sin san Áireamh.
Okay, Neasa, cad learmid fi buskew no inflation an sin. Cad ena go dérach atá ag tastal a gweibh haar an méid a dógar an realtas in é?
Okay, tá muid géirí go mé an dúchraich tá agat na fauns. Go bhfuil siad san Áireamh. So tá an realtas a géirí orin teacha a thógáil ar gúfraí nach bhfuil dagan. Ní dhéanann sé sin céal bí. Tá na tastalach a dhéanann an tinnealtóir. Tá na tastalach a sin ag genú seic ar na fauns ar an dúfraí fasta, freisin. So ní dhéanann sé céal bí teacha a thógáil ar gúfraí nach bhfuil dagan. Sin an céad rud cumáile sin Neil pyrite san Áireamh, right? So on méanrí atá stís na brici agus iad lochtach na Mica pyrite agus pyrite. So mar soldí bhamalia clia bhí pyrite is an sin. Agus clúdi siad na carpage on féint agus ahanrod nuair a bhí pyrite is an sin. But sin scéal eile. But cibé fá atá na brici lochtach Níl mujinne lochtach. Ní arna mujinne rudder bí mí ceart. Níl an locht oríne tá an locht ar an realtas. Bhí séad sin an aim is a bheith ag stúr an tionscoil tógála agus an tígur Celtach I réim, aber bhí hebléan ó hin. Bhí séad sin in aim is a bheith ag tuairt ara don stát agus an tarigid a dhéanú ag gach dainne. But ní róisiad ag genú jobs acu. Agus anis tá siad ag tuairt amach faoi cé có costasach is a bhés sé. You know, ní heagleo bheith ag tuairt, tá sin máslach dúin an seo. Agus mujinne, you know, ag cur an rud seo os a góir le éon bléon déag an nuas. Tá si róháil a bheith ag tuairt amach faoi costas an rud, tá is aginne an seo go bhfuil sé go a bheith costasach. Cos nói sé dúin na deichanna míle an teach seo a lagu agus a chóru agus an bhfuil agat seo darn. Dá méú an saoil ar ma thulagam. Ní bhéú ar an bogu amachchas an teach seo. Sin é, right? So dá bhí hin gach pinin jarab, gach pinin rua. Fiú dá bhí hin sin. ní bhéithe na géirí bogu amachchas an seach agus gasar a bhfuil uthachas ar fáil coppla bliana. So sin an rud tá sé seo cosad le scamal mór trom ósar gion sa ceantar. Seo príomh ábhar cainte an ceantar an seo. Bhí mé bhfuil mé le coppla car ag am lón an sin, agus seo an céad an the 10 rud a bhí mé caint fadúda. So ba cór goró ahan duine sa tír, muintir na tíre ar fad ag seaasú gualan le céal a dhéanú as an rud seo, agus gan bheith mí ceinialta faoin rud.
Agus dúi tú go dardig sibh an ábhar seo leis an réaltas agus an Ryan depmlí na déag ó hin a héideag bliana le déag ó hin agus fiú cé go dardig sibh ag an am sin ina dhéis sé sin ar fá roinnt mai blianta thuí a lán tithí a roig bhí a lán tithí tóchan.
Na méilte. I mean, saoirlí sin agus an tígar Celtic a réan aber cos a linne fihe blian ó hin agus na tithe bhí a thógáil an seo, my God, na méilte acu in Núnagáil. So tá sé de caint faoi 7,000 teach in Núnagáil a bhain. Bhfuil is agad civéad atá deisithe agus a thógaí acu faoin am seo, jaigan. Sin a méid, deach as 7,000 in Núnagáil a bhain. Agus an sin ní higann siad cén fá a bhfuil muid dúdóte. Tá muid tréachta ag trid. Mohí muid nach bhfuil daine ar bí a géisteach linn, agus gur cuma leis an réaltas, agus le bheith féiríneach gur cuma le pobl na tíre in Amany, you know, ba cór go digtar gur géir céim géanúil é seo. Ní rud conspaideach é. Tá daoine ag folinch, tá muid i gceantar sa leithin is seo, tá muid i gceantar nach bhfuil mór an airige John ó thaobh cursaí eicnámaíochta de, so an bhecinn tú na man scolanna ar fad in ina seoin, is scolanna deis éad a lig. Níl na 10,000 euro sna cool pócaí sagin in our gúil pócaí. Níl an tarigid sin an. Agus, you know, daoine ag tuairt faoin costas agus écóirí cánach agus mar sin de, but tá muidine wasan seo agus ní aimmuid tarbheith ar bí as an infrastructure trénach. Agus écamuid an cain sin, ahan lá, gach lá. Ní aimmuid tarbheith ar bí as na servisi alse. Ma hagan alse ort an seo in Núnagáil caithi tú chomans, ga chemo, ga sesiún chemo, go Gaeilge, cera urachlig, go Ballyshannon clia, cera urachlig. Now, tá muidine ag éach as na hospidéal sin gach lá, ag éach as an chorus an sin gach lá, ag éach as an Lewis, ag éach as an Port Tunnel, you know? But jenna muid sin, mar tá muid lig ar an céirna. Ná legigi, lewer dul, ná legigi don réaltas, tá sculch sna brici, tegam sin, cuid war sculchna, faoin am seo, ach tá sculch sa tuki, fásta. Idir winter na herin, rud a corangia ma agus bronorm, you know.
Ní an lí bé ar an ábhar ceapan sé go bhfuil go 18 fábhar na naoine timpplatíir an you know, táis a gom go bhíon a lá daoine ar na man thoisiad a ceann faoi gachród i gcónaí, you know. A ceapan sé go pásanta ó mo haithí féin go bhfuil go 18, ní dáid lom go leatna go mar fiú duine ó bháin nach 18 you know.
Okay. Well, it's brálam sin a clinching, gur maigat down.
Okay, just contacted all there and I'll punch you again if go nóim ó hin mar dheanar le cóirsibh an réaltas ar an ára seo os chun deaplín ó hin agus cé go cóirsibh siad ar an áras taréis sé sin tógu a lán tithí le Mica a rís nar tógu.
Yeah. Na agus tá siad a thógáil go fóil.
Oh God.
Tá tithe an seo sa ceantar seo a bhí tócaí beidir an bhléon se caite, beidir an bhléon ribhe sin, agus tá maicas na tithe sin, agus níl na daoine sna tithe sin clúdaithe leis an scéam. So bhecinn tú tá card am a chuid pósúí beidir arú an orí, agus tá maicas sa teach, but Stucker nar cursi is Jock an scéim nís mó na jav léano hin, níl si clúdi sarod, so ní fiú pinyin rua an shock seki. Ní ena si, listen, tá méid sin stuff nach nienan céal bí, tá si do credste casta. Agus na daine higgin sin nís mó na dinir bí na pobl an canter seo. Tá much just be into leis an rud, you know, agus a géirí just get a big jar facus. Níl me sé géirí teach níos mó, níl me géirí teach níos far, níl me ach a géirí an teach a déic me as fihe blian ó hin. Agus ní wéhí me sin, tuigim sin, but fiú cóngarachta, you know, da mé orm beidir jai míle, like béorin jai míle a caihiú fiú ma aiamwyd céad foin géad. Caiimiid na carpéide chuiristí, níl sin clúdaithe, mar a bhí amáilethe clia. Caiimiid peint a chur na bailí agus an obair a dhéanaan siad le sin a dhéanú agus an carpéide chur séas agus mar sin de. Níl se sin clúdaithe sa scéim charbí. Agus tá siad a caint faoi stóras, right? So an Jóntas a bhés an na 5,000 is fihe fa cunne céas fá bliana agus stóris. Right, smart how you do and stuff for Karachigan. But tagan on 5,000 is fihe sin amach as an umlan. Ní aon tú sin lena chuis. So tá costas an tíán, but tagan na costas I sin céas fá blian no go. I mean, níl barúil ag dinir bí cá had an laki sé, níl barúil ag dinir bí cahan cahur a bhés sé genta. Níl planner bí if I'm agus just tá imni war Guinea agus you know, na dhéanann sé Meitheamh bí that ó heh meabharchláinte de. No, just báil an buchas a gail le daoine atá ag obair ar son agus you know, as muinecán dúsa, so tuigim go digan daoine taobh muid an ceantar seo go bhfuil cursaí go hulk. But just tá mé géirí na daoine nach digan cujé tá gceist leis an rud. Féic an rud mar is ceart, lé na sonraí, féic na figurí, cujé go digi tú cujé tá gceist, mar tá an rialtas a géirí an dala wológ a chur Guinea, but tá muid níos Christian sin, you know.